In this video, we'll see how we can further customize WSL, and it's provided by Microsoft Kernel in order to run Podman. Some of the modules that Podman requires sometimes are not built inside of the kernel of WSL. This will help you to have fully functioning container management under WSL, which is quite fast and is a full replacement of Docker. Before diving into the kernel experience, the first thing that you would like to do is to update your WSL. So you need to go to command prompt, and as you can see, first I've used WSL update, which updated Windows subsystem for Linux up to a certain version. The point is that if you really want to get the latest version, you need to add to the command -- pre-release. Please use this command in order to make sure that you're having the latest version and probably getting the right drivers. If even after this operation you're experiencing problems running Podman, it's time to start configuring our kernel. Usually you would like to compile the support for certain hardware or drivers left as modules, and then to be able to load them internally on demand. But with WSL, the approach is different. Basically, the team is recommending that the kernel config file should be edited, and we need to build all the modules inside of the kernel. So let's see how we can do this. In the GitHub repository of WSL Linux kernel version 2, we can find under arch x86 configs a file named config WSL. When you open the file, actually it shows us what kind of modules will be loaded and built inside of the kernel. The configuration is vast. You don't need to remember everything. The point is to know what your program of choice needs in order to enable it, and then configure and build the kernel with it. In the case of IP tables and NF tables support that Docker and Podman are using, we would like to enable all those options inside of the kernel, and afterwards, if some of them are not automatically loaded, we need to use modprobe in order to enable the essential ones dynamically. If you're following the Microsoft guide on how to use the Linux kernel on WSL, you can see that under the steps, when we are cloning the whole repository, we're building the kernel on step number 5. Right before this, we would like to enter in the directory WSL to Linux kernel and to type make menu config. So I'll do this right now. We'll go to WSL Linux kernel and then make menu config. Now here you can go over the options and choose what you need. The point is that those options are quite vast. So I can use the / for search. So let's say I'm looking at the enablement of virtual network interfaces, and we can see where their location is. For example, under device drivers, network device support, network core driver support, universal turn-tap device driver support. And what's left is for us to navigate to this location and choose yes in order to be built the module inside of the kernel. Afterwards, you can proceed with build of the kernel, install the modules, copy the image into the respective directory on our C drive, and point the WSL config to boot with the newly created image. Then you need to shut down the WSL and use the newly created kernel. In this way, if you type uname -r, you can understand what kind of kernel you're using right now. One more thing is why we are here in this directory and are using git to fetch all those files from the repository. If the information on the repository has been changed, you can always type git pull, and this should be able to pull the latest updates from the remote branch, so you can have the latest kernel on your machine consisting of the new changes, and then again to repeat the procedure of creation of the custom kernel. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the information, and if you find it useful, you can subscribe to the channel for more.